3 months ago, I started a series. And today, I'm finishing it. Last time we left off, we had just defeated Aldrich, which means that the next boss on our hit list is Yhorm. The only thing standing between us, though, was the Irithyll dungeon, and this area with everything tripled was nothing short of a nightmare. These enemies in particular were really tough, so I was forced to grab a gun and shoot them all in the head. Wait, what? This video is sponsored by FRAG Pro Shooter, a third-person shooter for mobile with over 100 million active players. FRAG was kind enough to contribute to the upcoming challenge's prize pool by sponsoring this video, and thanks to their help, that challenge is going to have a massive prize pool. If you're unfamiliar with FRAG, the rules are simple. You want to destroy the enemy's tower as fast as you can. With over 100 unique characters, each with different abilities, you can create your deck and strategize to your heart's content. Now is actually the perfect time to try out the game because they've just released a new season pass which comes with a new character, exclusive skins, and rewards to make progressing through the game a lot easier. If you're enjoying these community challenges and you want to see bigger prize pools, then downloading the game helps out a ton. You can use my link in the description or the code on screen to get a gold chest, 5,000 coins, 200 diamonds, and a special offer just for you. The cramped nature of Irithyll dungeon makes it very tough to navigate sometimes, especially with how big Artorias' hitbox is. But as long as I don't get cornered, then I should be fine. Artorias' somersault was practically made for hallways like this, and I'm able to easily pancake these enemies before heading down into the lower half of the dungeon where the sleeping giant is. In case you didn't know, this area of the map actually has the highest concentration of mimics in the entire game. The number of enemies in this room is insane, and I don't have my AK-47 anymore, so we're just gonna go this way instead. Heading into the Profaned capital, Artorias is so fast that the gargoyle doesn't even have time to block our path. And after resting at the bonfire, I'm gonna go ahead and temporarily heal my arm so that I can slide down this ladder. Below this collapsed bridge is a small horde of enemies who don't really pose too much of a threat because, like the jailers, they're really easy to knock down, only these guys can't steal my HP. The area just before Yhorm's Fall Gate is teeming with enemies, but the most horrifying scene has got to be these mimics, which are all also unfortunately tripled. They aren't as dangerous as they look though, and after clearing them out, I make my way into Yhorm's arena to face one of the most difficult bosses we've met so far. Now, in theory, this fight is supposed to be terrible. Yhorm has the highest HP of any boss in Dark Souls 3, and we don't exactly have access to the Storm Ruler. What we do have though, is 2 secrets.
Old friend.
Without the Storm Ruler, one of the best ways to inflict damage on Yhorm is to go for his head, which is fairly easy to do with the vertical attacks in Artorias' moveset. It's a long fight, but eventually we do get a poise break and one of the secrets takes the opportunity to go for a riposte. Yhorm switches into phase 2 and wipes out both secrets, but after a lot of hitting and running, one with the Abyss breaks his poise one final time, and that's when we're transported over to the Dancer. As soon as I spawn in, 2 dancers are already circling me like vultures, and I still have low HP from my last fight. The odds are definitely not in my favor, but if you've ever fought the Dancer before or seen one of my other runs, then you already know that the Dancer is weak to dark. After finishing off the second one, I'm gonna go ahead and summon the main Dancer, and the fight is going well right up until I go for this jump attack. With just a sliver of HP left, one with the Abyss takes her HP down to half, and these somersaults are doing some crazy damage. It's still not enough though, and I do end up dying anyway. For attempt number 2, things get even worse because now the third main Dancer is already active. The good news is that I now have a full HP bar, but the bad news is that they don't care. In situations like this, it's very hard to keep track of the main boss, but their large size makes them all easy targets. Because One with the Abyss hits so many times, the moment this dancer jumps on me is a death sentence. Defeating the dancers brings us to Lothric's Castle, which probably would have been fun to explore as Artorias if the playable boss mod didn't consistently crash. So if you experience any issues in this part of the game like many others have, just temporarily disable the mod and make your way over to the boss as Baby Artorias instead. Triple Dragonslayer on max new game difficulty is, I think the word is claustrophobic. It's so easy to get knocked off the side here, not just because of how many bosses there are, but because of Artorias' own agility. If that wasn't enough, Artorias' greatsword is also no match for the Dragonslayer's shield. When the Pilgrim Butterflies start attacking, I resist the urge to jump off the edge myself, and instead start using One with the Abyss. If it wasn't already obvious, this move is going to be your best friend in this run. Fortunately, the Dragonslayers are very slow, so kiting them around this sad excuse for an arena is actually a solid strategy in this fight. Ah, the Grand Archives, a place full of wisdom, sprawling bookcases, and death. Upon entering, the first thing I do is go for this jump I saw a speedrunner do once, and that'll bring me over to the wax pit where I treat these scholars like bowling pins. The thralls on this bookcase are annoying to say the least, and the main reason why is because of how low they are to the ground. After suffering an embarrassing amount of damage fighting these guys, I'm taken to this ladder here and okay, now that we're out of the woods, there should be a shortcut around here. As soon as I pull this lever, a bonfire should be... Now that we've unlocked the shortcut, I'm taken to the rooftop where there are 6 stone gargoyles waiting for me. This fight is reminiscent of the Dragonslayer armors. These gargoyles can block your attacks with their stone wings, and your best bet is to attack them while they're trying to attack you. Artorias' overhead slash is perfect for hitting them when they're in the air because of its large hitbox. After toying around with this Lothric Knight, I head over to the infamous Black Hand Trio staircase, only instead of a trio, it's more like a 9-0. My rematch with these guys consisted mostly of spin attacks, and don't even think about invoking the Abyss here because they are not going to let you get it off. Instead, some good old-fashioned R1 spam should do the trick. Lothric's bridge is like a scene from a movie. There has to be at least 50 of these guys, and I'm in no condition to take them all on, so breezing right past them is definitely the smartest thing to do. With as much HP as we have, this fight did not go as poorly as I thought it would, and I was able to gather a lot of data from this first encounter. As expected, the huge throne room is a major advantage for Artorias, but most notably, invoking the Abyss will prompt Lorien to teleport over to you, and the move's high poise damage will set you up for a riposte. In most cases though, the move's delay makes it pretty much impossible to follow up unless you somehow end up trading with Lorien. It was an honest attempt, but it isn't an amazing chest run if we don't die to Lorien at least once. For round 2, I am slightly more healthy, and that allows me to play a little bit more risky. Heading into phase 2, things are going well so far. Despite how many knights we saw outside, none of them have managed to clip through the... Wait a second. Huh, that was a close one. After placing the Cinders on each of their respective thrones, I make my way over to the kiln to fight the final boss of the main game. All 3 of them. If you can manage to line them up, then Artorias' somersault will do respectable damage, and since their poise is so low, one of them is bound to take a knee. There's a lot to look out for in this fight. Each Cinder is constantly cycling through forms, and when you do take one out, they just transition into phase 2 and regenerate all of their HP. In spite of this, I'm actually a huge fan of the Cinder fight. He has some pretty cool moves. This one in particular leaves him wide open to our favorite attack. Here's a question for you. If Artorias ever did actually make it to the kiln, which ending do you think he would choose? Would he come to his senses and link the flame, or would he choose darkness instead? Ariandel was fun. If you can believe it, the wolves weren't the worst part of this map. This was. Specifically the knights with the Quakestone hammer. Its weapon art Quake was almost impossible to see coming in this swarm of enemies. Once I'm brought down to about a 6 of my HP, I make my way up the hill and... That's not supposed to happen. With a little bit of persistence, I do make it to the bonfire, and Artorias' somersault is instrumental in navigating this ledge. Wilhelm and his surrounding areas are extremely crash prone, but that didn't mean I was out of options. After unlocking Ariandel's chapel and signing up for therapy, it was finally time to take on Sister Friede. Sister Friede times 3 is a goofy fight. The best way to describe it is like fighting phase 2, except Friede and Ariandel don't share the same HP bar. I never thought I'd say this, but the most dangerous part of this fight is actually Ariandel. Both of them. That isn't the case for phase 2 though, because now their HP bar is shared again. In this phase, you always want to lead Ariandel into the corner, and invoking the Abyss will give us a riposte, which completely melts his HP bar. Speaking of HP, mine isn't looking too great, and the phase 3 fight with Friede is a nail biter. In Dreg Heap, the enemy multiplier and playable boss mods had an interesting effect on Gael. Once he finally lets me through, the best way to get around these mercmen is to use jump attacks. And the rest of the heap is basically your average playthrough right up until this room with the Lothric Knights. This is when it became obvious that something just wasn't right. The ghost Gaels that usually just tell you what direction to go in are sentient now, and yeah, that's not what I signed up for, so I'm gonna head out. After sitting at this bonfire and running past the angel, I trudge through the swamp and head up these branches and drop down into the Demon Prince fight. There is no timeline in which Artorias loses this fight. There just isn't. Although there are 6 of them, this is one of those times where I'm not stuck in here with them, they're stuck in here with me. Literally every time I swing my giant sword, I hit at least 2 of them, even if it's on accident, and the somersault is more effective than it was versus Cinder. Once in phase 2, this 3-piece combo sets me up perfectly for a riposte, and one last somersault opens up the gates to the Ring City. Infiltrating this city is a piece of cake for Artorias. Well, kind of. I didn't really experience too much difficulty until the part where you encounter the Ring Knights for the first time, and the problem wasn't even the Ring Knights, it was the Hollow Clerics. The trick to getting past these guys is to just keep moving, but the fact that they're tripled makes it really tricky. I carefully drop down onto the chandelier, and baby Artorias helps us work around some crashes. For some reason, the Bridge Midir mini-boss isn't tripled, but that's okay because I had other things to worry about. I think it's worth mentioning that Midir's laser does an unholy amount of damage to Artorias, but if you can manage to avoid that, then you should be able to focus on the real boss of this area, which is the bridge. The Ring Knights guarding Filianor's Rest are dangerous, but thanks to some help from patches, I'm able to make it to the Fog Gate, and I really wish I hadn't. As I'm fighting the main Halflight, the other clones are focused on the group of patches NPCs right outside the fog, so this is the perfect opportunity to fight the real one. Now, realistically, I don't think there's any way Artorias could take on 3 Halflights, 3 Judicators, and 6 Guardians all at the same time, so this is probably the best case scenario. Halflight is really easy to knock down, so Artorias' signature spin move is your go-to attack in this fight. After a bit of back and forth, I finish him off with a 3-hit combo with almost no HP remaining. Now that Halflight was finished, there was only one thing preventing me from beating Dark Souls 3 for the final time. 3 Gaels on max new game difficulty without healing is a pretty tall task, but if there's any boss that can do it, it's definitely Artorias. With this mod, only the main Gael is capable of going into phase 2, so my plan for this one is to focus solely on him. I need to get his HP down as low as possible before the other Gaels show up. I'm only able to get about 25% of his HP down, and that's when an unexpected visitor joins the fight. This Ring Knight that's usually in the far corner of the map has an increased range now thanks to Zully's aggression mod, and he also wants a piece of Artorias. As the fight goes on, I get more and more desperate, and that leads to me making some pretty careless mistakes. The biggest one is trying to invoke the Abyss. After getting launched across the map, my rematch with the main Gael is off to a great start. I'm gonna fall back here and look for an opening to try and stun lock all 3 Gaels at the same time, and when I get the attack off, he goes into phase 2 and that cursed cutscene takes us near the thrones, where I have about 30 seconds to finish off Gael before the other 2 clones arrive. Now that we've finally beaten the game as Artorias, there was only one thing left to do. Let's go.
Good. I got the left.
Oh, he tackled me right away. I'll take one on this side.
It's the left one.
The left one? Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's mine. He's doing the flamethrower. I think I can get him here.
Yikes.
Oh, the tail whip.
Beam incoming.
Okay. 2 beams, they're both beaming.
I can't see anything. This dragon's too big.
There's so many of them. I'm gonna fall
Dragon
back
needs
and
it, right?
go for one with the Abyss.
Okay. I'll hold him up.
It's doing so much. Oh, that's perfect.
It's like a finisher move. Okay, come on, we're almost there. Finish him.
Going for one with the Abyss.
Oh, it doesn't work on me. I'm immune.
I'm trying to finish him. Keep him occupied.
Okay.
Yes! We got
Yes!
him! There it is.
Take that, you giant lizard!
Hold on, but there's still 2 more.
Alright, we'll murder them too. And by we, I mean you, because I'm getting sent back. Adios!
Don't go! Alright, I did not think this through. I did not think this through at all. They're beaming. Oh my gosh. One's down. Just one more left.
Come on, you got this. Just play perfect.
I'm playing perfect. I'm playing perfect. Ah, dragon.
No, come on.
He's transforming. Oh, he killed me.
No! Just edit him out.
I will edit that out.